and the recordings are, hopefully we'll get a website up pretty soon, and all the recordings will be made available for everyone to check out. Let me move this down to, okay. So the technical fouls and the play on technique, in my opinion, besides face-offs, is one of the most difficult things in the sport of lacrosse. Technical fouls is rule 6 in the book, and it is the longest section in the book with the most gray area. Has the most articles, has the most scenario based, and it has most of our mechanics manual deals with the technical fouls and play on technique. Our technical fouls are a push, hold, illegal procedure, delay of game, interference, illegal screen, withholding, warding, illegal touching, substitution, offsides, conduct, stalling, and crease violations, which we'll cover a tiny bit, but most will be covered in another training. We have 8 personal fouls and about a total of 25 technical fouls. Even though there's not 25 here, illegal procedure covers a ton. So I gotta move our faces again. Let me put them down there. Okay. The technical foul covers all rules that are all fouls that are of a less serious nature than personal fouls. And they include all violations of the rules of the game except those listed as personal fouls or ejections. What this is basically stating is anything that's not a personal foul or ejection is a technical foul. A person who steps out of bounds while possessing the ball is a technical foul line violation. An offensive player who steps on the crease is a technical foul line violation. A person who plays out of bounds is a technical foul line violation. Anytime we have to kill the play and stop live ball play and create a dead ball situation, it is because of a technical foul. Something has happened. Something has occurred. Awarding a technical foul comes in 2 fashions. If the team has possession of the ball, or there is a flag down on the offending player's team, the penalty will be a 30-second suspension of the player on the offending team. A flag down can also be a loose. If the ball is loose and there is no flag down, you can award the ball to the team that's fouled. So we can, unlike personal fouls, where it doesn't matter if the ball is possessed or loose, we're going to have a flag no matter what. A technical foul, if the ball is possessed or loose, can either be a 30-second violation, or we just turn the ball and give the ball to the offended team. We have to look at that in 2 different facets. This is the exact reading of the technical foul rule, and I'm going to read it, so just read along. If there is no flag down and a player commits a loose ball foul or line violation technical foul, goalie interference, or crease violation, and an offended player may be disadvantaged by the immediate suspension of play, the official shall visually and verbally signal play on and withhold the whistle until such time as the situation of advantage gained or lost has been completed. That is a very, very long-winded way to explain a technical foul. I highlighted the 2 most important things within that rule: no flag down and disadvantaged by the suspension of play. Those are the 2 most important aspects of this rule. If there is a flag down, personal or technical foul, does not matter. A loose ball technical foul will always be time serving. If there is a flag down, another technical foul will always be a time-serving foul. We will withhold the whistle until advantage is gained or lost. That's what we're covering. And those are the main words: advantage or disadvantaged. If you always think about technical fouls in those mindsets, you will never get a technical foul incorrect. Advantage versus disadvantage. If we have a technical foul situation on the field, any type of technical foul, doesn't matter. Think of whatever you want. And we have a play on scenario within a technical foul, we have that play on scenario, someone has to get the ball. Someone must maintain an advantage. Article 2 of this rule is that the play on shall have elapsed, means it has completed itself, and the official shall cease to signal when, in the case of a loose ball technical foul, the offended team gains possession. Easy enough. In the case of a crease violation, in which the goalkeeper has possession, play shall continue until the offended team is disadvantaged, or when the offended team commits a violation or penalty. Those are the times when we're going to end a play on scenario. Offense gets a penalty. That's easy enough. We're going to end a play on. There's a second play on, a crease violation, or we have a flag down that was already on the field, and then we have a technical foul on the same team. So let me get this. Oh, really beautiful. Okay, I'll come back to that video. The biggest part about technical fouls is possession. I'm going to say it about 15 times throughout the entire thing. Carrying, cradling, passing, or shooting. That is the exact rule of what possession is, rule 4.5. Carrying, cradling, passing, or shooting. If a technical foul occurs, someone must gain possession, means they must carry, cradle, pass, or shoot the ball, and then the situation ends. Okay, you can read the next 4 on your own. That's just a basic description. Possession is key. In order for an advantage to end, possession must be maintained. If possession is not maintained, the advantage continues. The reason we have the play on technique, you can see this official has his hand up. This is the hold signal. Your hand is up in the air. That is a play on technique. We are trying to preserve the flow of the game within technical fouls, keeping the speed of the game fluid and quick. The biggest principle is not to take away an imminent scoring opportunity. And one team must maintain an advantage in a play on scenario. The reason we have the play on technique, and we stole it directly from soccer, because in international rules lacrosse, if there is a technical foul on the field, a face-off takes place. If you ever watch the World Games, they don't have technical fouls that often. But when a technical foul takes place, they will face off. Instead of facing off in the middle of the field, they might face off in the alley. They might face off on the wing line. That's what happens when they have a technical foul, just like hockey, where they have a face-off on numerous spots on the ice. We're using the play on to maintain the advantage of the team that was offended. We're trying to maintain the advantage of the team that was offended. The most common technical fouls that we will experience on a lacrosse field is a push. 9 times out of 10, a technical foul that you'll see on a lacrosse field will be a push. No matter what, a push from behind, a push on the back of a player is illegal, no matter what. If it is from behind and creates a disadvantage, it is illegal. One thing that we can get in the habit of is if we see a really hard check in the back, we will call it a push no matter what, to dumb down the call. Knowing the level that we're officiating is extremely important. If I have 2 high-level high school teams, I'm probably going to call a push more often than not. If I have 2 teams that can barely pick up the ball and most of the time they're playing field hockey, I'm probably going to be more strict when it comes to my adjudication of a push call rather than being a little more lackadaisical with 2 high-level teams. But no matter what, violent contact to the back is a personal foul. You can call it a cross check. You can call it an illegal body check. But violent contact to the back, thrusting motion, is a personal foul. A push with possession, just like every other technical foul, any type of technical foul with possession is a 30-second suspension from play. It is a flag down, slow whistle scenario. We'll throw a flag and let that play continue until we have to blow it dead. Now, just as a reminder, in youth ball play, middle school and down, U14 and down, if we have a flag down on the field and the ball hits the ground, we will kill the play. At the high school level, if the ball hits the ground, not on a shot, we're going to let play continue. So make sure we're always knowing what level we are officiating. A player is allowed, and you will, more often than not, you'll hear a coach complaining about a push. He pushed him, he pushed him, he pushed him. We get numb to the fact that coaches call it so much. A player is 100% allowed to play an opposing player's back as long as the pressure is equal and does not create a disadvantage. We've all seen it when the attackman is walking himself backwards and leaning into the defensive guy. That defensive man is allowed to play him on his back and stand him up to stop his movement. That is not a push. He is applying equal pressure to stop his movement. Only thing we need to look for is where his hands are. Are they high in the neck? Are they above the waist? And are they within shoulder width apart? This is the most common technical foul that we will see on a lacrosse field. Let me get this video queued up. This is our first example for a loose ball push, and it'll play itself a couple of times. Black is in their attacking area, and there's a loose ball. Ball's going around. Ball's still loose. Black's going to play the ball. White pushes him. When the ball is loose, play on. Award the ball to black. Loose ball push. Pushed him from the back, gained an advantage. The biggest thing with these advantage calls is if the person gets pushed in the back and they step over the ball or fall down, we have a push. Now, I've seen guys who have literally been falling for 10 seconds. They are falling 6 or 7 steps before contact is made. It doesn't matter where the play ends. Within every single technical foul scenario, we have to see the entire play, where it starts and where it ends. If it starts on the midfield line and the guy is falling for 10 yards and it ends there, it's still a push. View the entire play as it's taking place. Okay, here's the next example of a push. This is a push with possession. Ball's going towards the sideline. White player pushes him while he has possession of the ball. Let me pause that again. Go back so everyone can see it one more time. This is right off of face-off. Black takes possession of the ball, running towards the out of bounds, and gets pushed in the back. He has possession of the ball, gets pushed in the back. The disadvantage was he got pushed out of bounds. That was 100% a disadvantage. Throw the flag. That is a push with possession. Here's another one of a push. This is a loose ball push. Same two teams. Now, one thing about this play is, let me move this bar. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. That's so much better. One thing about this play is you'll see, I'll get that chatting question in a second. This official who's located right here delays killing the play because of a scoring opportunity. He is delaying killing this play. Watch it. Ball's loose. Black pushes him. Delay. Then he kills it. all the players stop, because that ball is skirting towards the goal. We don't want to kill an imminent scoring opportunity. Let's watch it one more time. Now, I know there's going to be a couple people that saw the fact that he came up towards the guy's head. We're not looking at that. We're just looking at the fact that he pushed in the back. Dean said you should emphasize the difficulty of making a push call on the side or sideline. A push on a sideline is a very, very difficult call. Anytime we are getting close to a line violation, it will always be a difficult scenario. Always, always, always be a difficult scenario. But the biggest thing with sideline calls, anything that's on anything that's near a line violation, so the in lines or the sidelines, biggest thing we have to recognize with any type of line violation is where the ball is and where the player's feet are. If a player steps on the line and plays the ball, he is playing from out of bounds. The reason I think Dean said it, and Dean can chime in, the reason I believe that Dean said how difficult these type of things are is because if a player's running towards the out of bounds and then gets pushed, we still have to look at where the advantage was. Was the player disadvantaged because of that motion? Yes. In this scenario, yes, he was. Dean, do you want to chime in again?
Sure. The important thing I think to emphasize is that especially on these line violations, it is really important for the whole crew to work together, because the official closest to the line is going to be looking down to see whether the player touches the line and may not have the best view to determine whether there was a push or not. So somebody else on the crew needs to be able to help that official and make that call. So it's not just the person, the official that's closest to the line and the potential line violation. And I mean, that happens time and again. The other scenario that happens is player is running with the ball toward a line, and he is nicked from behind by the defensive player. It's not a violent, it's not even a real major push, but it's just enough to sort of push him into the line or over the line. And you hate to call that, but you've got to call that, right? Those are the two things that, I mean, I've seen a million times, and, and it's got to happen. But it's not always easy, especially in the first situation, to see whether the player touched the line himself, and what kind of force did the defensive player exert to push the guy over.
No, I agree. Like what Dean was saying, the person, the officials closest to a line, an in line or a sideline, is most time either going to be watching the ball and the sideline, and from the waist down is probably what the official is going to be looking for. It'll take the other official looking from across to maybe see other things. Same thing with a crease, with any type of play around the crease. The official who's closest to that goal, he's worried about the goal and the goalie, where the other official needs to be watching his feet to see if he actually steps in. So we have to see, as we're either an on official or off official, but on sideline calls, we both have to take that. Now, in a two-man scenario, it's going to be very hard for an official who's 40 yards away to make a call on the opposite side of the field. I completely understand that. In a three-man scenario, when you have two guys on the same side, you can help each other out in those situations. The single side, the one reason he's called the single, he's by himself. So in a three-man scenario, you got one guy on the opposite side of the field and two guys on the bench side. In a two-man scenario, you got one guy on each side of the field. Help each other out, absolutely, 100%. And again, looking at the entire play, if we call something a second or a couple seconds late, who cares if it's the correct call? View the entire play. We don't have to make a very, very quick technical foul call. That's not the point. The point is to make our technical fouls consistent from the time when the match starts to when it ends. Consistency is key. From the beginning to the end. If we call something some way at the very beginning of a game, we need to call it that way the entire game so we maintain consistency throughout the entire contest. Let's watch this play one more time. Ignore the fact that he tries to come across this kid's head and gives him a forearm shiver. What we're looking at is the fact that this official delays suspension of play because of an imminent scoring opportunity. So ball's down, gets squirted out, play on. So did we see that this number 10, he is the furthest guy down. He's maybe 12 yards away from the goalie. He delayed it because this ball squirts out all the way over here. As soon as this number 10 flubs the possession, then he kills it. Let's watch this one more time so we can see it. Play comes out, play on, and then he kills it. This official did not kill an imminent scoring opportunity because of a loose ball technical foul. Okay, now here's another one. This is going to really irk some people. So we're going to watch it a couple of times. I'll play it again. This is a loose ball technical foul, but I don't know if I would have called it. See if you can figure out why. Hey, let's make sure, guys, that our mics are muted unless you have a question. Let's watch it one more time. Hold on a second. There we go. I don't know if I would have called this because I think the guy took a dive. I want you to watch where he makes contact and then watch the reaction and the delayed reaction from the guy who was technically pushed. Loses the ball, tip. I think that little forearm shiver might have been a little bit to the side, maybe not directly on the back. This is one, if you're going to call it, you call it one time and then you tell the guy, don't do that again, or we're not going to call it. Give him the benefit of the doubt the first time, but after that, this isn't soccer. Lacrosse is a full contact sport. If people are going to take a dive, tell them, I gave it to you this one time, but don't do it again. Let him know. In this situation, players are going to take advantage of situations no matter where they are in the field. Give it to him the first time, but that was 100%. He felt the push and he just jumped forwards. Give it to him. Understand this situation as well and the level we're officiating. This is high school. Middle school, we're probably going to call this every single time. A high-level high school game, I'm not. I'm going to call it the first time, and the next time, I'm going to tell them, I'm not going to call it because you took a dive. There is a rule in the rule book that lists this occurring, is individuals taking advantage of rules within the sport of lacrosse. Taking advantage of rules within the sport of lacrosse is a conduct foul. But it comes with experience. A new official, call this a push every single time. As you get used to play and get used to calling technical fouls, you'll be able to recognize these plays as they take place. Okay, so this play takes place towards the bottom of the screen, and I know it's very far away, but we're just gonna have to watch it a couple times. This is another play towards the sideline. The defensive guy with the long pole is running along the sideline. He is possessing the ball. Notice that the official does not call a push. He puts it the other way as the guy stepped out of bounds. What do you think this official is calling? There he is running down the field. He sees the guy coming and exposes his back to the man applying the check. He is deliberately exposing his back, trying to gain an advantage via the rule. The official recognizes it and tosses it the other direction. He's out of bounds. And I call it it's called the turn. The player is literally turning his back to avoid a contact, deliberately turning his back. We cannot let a player take advantage of our rules because he's trying to gain that advantage. If he was one step further downfield and he got pushed in the back, that would be a push of possession. But he knew he was losing ground. Turns, push, goes out of bounds. This, I think, also depends on your level, how long you've been officiating. Biggest thing is probably none of us in this call have experienced everything on a lacrosse field. I still have never had a perfect game. Very seldom will you walk away from a game going, I know that I made every single call 100%. I got it right every single time, because everything is scenario based, especially technical fouls, seeing the entire play. In this instance, I'll keep on playing it. In this instance, we have White who's clearing down the field. He crosses the midfield line. He knows he's heading towards the sideline. Let's view the entire scenario, see what happens. This official did the right call. He's right there in the correct position to make this call. He makes it, and no one's going to argue. Why? Because he is less than 5 yards away making this call. It's always something to think about with this. I gotta move our faces down. There we go. Okay. The next call we'll probably see the most of, and the call I wish we would use more on the lacrosse field, is the interference call. I wish we would use this more. I'll get that chat question in a second. The interference call is something we should use more on the lacrosse field. Interfering with a player not possessing the ball and not within 5 yards for high school or 3 yards for middle school or youth is illegal. If there is a possession, it is a 30-second suspension from play, just like every technical foul. This is why all officials cannot ball watch. Use your peripheral vision to view the entire field. Interference calls can be easy if you're looking at the entire field. So green has the ball. Green passes the ball. Ball is more than 5 yards away while the ball's in the air. Let me go back. I'm going to try to pause this. Exactly where it takes place. While the ball is in the air, this green player is passing the ball over to this green player. While the ball is being passed, this occurs. White player interferes with this green player. Play on because the ball was in the middle of a pass. Picks up the ball. Play on's now over. You tell me if you think this is legal contact or interference. This is one of the U.S. Lacrosse, you make the calls. Blue player behind the goal. Were you watching the player with the ball? Or were you using your peripheral vision? Watch this cutting player coming in. Number 6 gives him a little shiver. How far away was that contact? 10 yards, 5 yards? That's definitely more than 5 yards. Play within the crease is something every official on the field has to keep their peripheral vision on. This is a flag down for interference because the ball is possessed at the time of contact. Watch it one more time. 6 is behind the goal. Number 4 is cutting into the crease. Definitely more than 5 yards away, interference. Very simple, interference call. Ball is possessed, so it is a flag down. This is going to be our restart following any dead ball scenario with the signals for a play on where the offended team does not gain possession. The whistle is blown, foul is adjudicated, indicate the direction of attack and color of the team to possess, then the whistle is blown. In order, hand up, play on, say what the foul is, push, interference, blue, hand back up, blow the whistle. This is our mechanic. Every single time. Play on, blow the whistle dead. If you're going to, blow the whistle dead. Push, blue ball, hand back up, blow the whistle. Or let your partner take the whistle so you can get down in position. Before we go any further, I'm going to answer these 2 chat questions real quick. Chandler asks, so if a player was pushed on the side, is it a no call? A player is allowed to make physical contact from the front and the side. A push is from the back, from the rear of the player. So any type of contact from the side or from the front between the shoulder and the waist is legal contact. Any play, contact from the rear, from the back, from the waist and below the neck is illegal contact. If you get contact to the legs, we have a personal foul scenario. If we get contact to the head, we have a personal foul. We're not in the technical foul realm. Dean said, if 6 had checked the player's stick in front of the goal, is it still interference? That's a really good question. Let's go back and look at that play one more time so we can see that one more time. Let me take that away. So 6 is the defensive guy, the short stick in the middle of the crease. If he had stick checked him, Dean says, would it still be interference? Let's look at it. Now we know this is interference, but let's say he just stick checks him. Let's say he just stick checks him as he's going through. I think we have to look at a stick check in 2 scenarios. Number 1, did it impede his movement? That's the biggest one. Did the check that he does, did it impede his movement? If no, we let it go. If it's to the stick, let it go. If it's to the body, this is where we need to be active and say, hey, number 6, back off. Let him run, let him run, let him run. One big pet peeve of mine is officials who are on the field and don't talk. We're not out there to be coaches, but talk to the players. Let them know you see them being turds on the field. Let them know. If you let them know what's going on, you know that they know that you can see them acting up, they will not do it again. In that scenario, Dean, if I'm with you and I see it, I'm going to tell them to back off. And I think you would too, 100%. You would do the exact same thing.
Gene, my thought on this though is that you're potentially taking a scoring opportunity away from 4 if you check his stick, especially right in front of the goal.
Sure.
If 4 is running across and the player with the ball sees him, I mean, the angles are not right here exactly, but and the defensive player checks his stick, it potentially is taking away that kind of scoring opportunity, which it should be a classic interference call, I think.
I agree. Especially, and it's the thing that we see all the time is a player running through the crease and he gets his stick checked out of his hands.
Right.
That's interference every single time. If he's more than 5 yards away from where the ball is, that's interference every single time. If he has his stick up, the defense is going to play him. They're going to every single time. They're going to play him. If he has his stick up running through the crease, they're going to play him put at least a hand on him. I think if we look at that as too black and white, we'll run into trouble in calling them more often than we should. I think look at whether it's an advantage or disadvantage. If number 4 is running through the crease and his stick is down and number 6 just goes tip and just tags him a little bit, I would say let that go.
I agree.
But if he checks his stick out of his hand and like really stick checks him, that's interference, just like Dean was saying, every single time. Because that is an absolute disadvantage right in front of the goal, more than 5 yards away. You can list 4 or 5 different scenarios that take place. That is interference every single time. In this scenario, every official on the field should see this take place and should throw a flag. Every single official on the field. If we have multiple flags down, that looks even better because more officials saw the actual interference take place. Okay, now restarts on a play on. We already talked about the signals: play on, push, interference, hold, blue ball, hand back up. If the offended team gains possession of the ball following a play on signal, hand up, the hand is lowered and the color of the team in possession is called. We're not going to say play off. If we say play on, we're not going to say play off. We're going to point in the direction of attack and say the color of the team. Play on, blue. Play on, white. Play on, black. Do that every single time. When you say play on is over or play off, people might misinterpret what you're saying. Say the color. Let's keep it simple. Just like we will always say, if we have an orange team, a team is wearing orange on the field, we're probably going to call them red. Keep your speech on the field short and concise. When we get into explanations of what has happened, we can fluff our words, and people can misinterpret what we're saying. Say one color. If we have a push, play on, we're not going to say push on white, blue ball. We're only going to say one color. Play on, push, blue ball. We're not going to say the color of the team that created the offense. We're only going to say the one color of the team that is going to gain possession of the ball. That is it. Short, concise, and to the point. The offense may not restart the ball in the opposing team's box following a technical foul. If we're in the attack area, the box, the area around the goal, all technical fouls must be moved laterally outside of the goal area. Do not restart. The defense is allowed to restart the play within the box, but not the offense. The goalie can restart the play within the crease. We all know this, but some of the new officials who are in this call, maybe not. An offended team may not get a running start following a dead ball after a play on. This is huge during over and back calls, and we're going to watch lots of examples of over and back. A team cannot gain an advantage by a running start. If we have a real quick play on, offsides, white ball, I don't care if he has his stick up in the air. If he's running towards the goal, stop him and bring him back to where the foul occurred. Where you blew the play dead, that's where that needs to start. Do not let a player get a running start after a dead ball scenario or even after a play on. We do not want to give we already gave the team an advantage. Giving them another 10-yard advantage, that's insult to injury. Now, you notice the words in green. The offense may restart the ball laterally outside the box. I, myself, have a problem restarting the ball at the very top of the box. Dead center, right above the crease, right above the goal. Unless it's really close to in the midfield line, I have a real big problem with that. I always say, pick a side, go to one side, get away from the middle of the middle of the field. I will always have a problem with that. If you push it out, you're going to get less chance for maybe something to occur. And the offended team shall get a clear path to the goal. Remember, we can restart the ball with the defense within 5 yards. but they must get a clear path to the goal, and they shall get it every single time. If they do not get that clear path to the goal, means a defensive player is 5 yards away before he plays that offensive player, we have another penalty on the field. When to play on. Oh, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty of the play on technique. Fast breaks, meaning there's a quick transition across to the other side of the field. Should we call a play on and kill the play on a fast break? Probably not. On the defensive end of the field, means the clear has just started. Will we be able to kill the play? Probably yes. On the crease, we have a play on the crease. Are we going to kill the play immediately or not? Oh, it depends all on the situation. At the midline, over and back scenarios, ball is squirting across the midfield line. Offensive guy is completely open to pick up that ball. Are we going to kill that opportunity for that player to get a fast break, or are we not going to kill it? Stalling. Are we going to kill a stall? When do we kill a stall? How do we kill a stall? And then the biggest thing is the score of the game and the time left in the game. If we have a tie game with 12 seconds in the game and we have a play on, are we going to kill that play immediately, or are we going to let it go for just that second longer to see what happens? Everything is scenario based. What is happening on the field? We have to view everything. All of these things come into play when we're using the play on technique and recognizing possessed or loose technical fouls. Biggest factor to the play on, someone must maintain the advantage. No matter what, someone's getting this ball. If we yell play on, one team's getting that ball, unless something else happens, dead ball. Someone must maintain the advantage during a play on scenario. Once a play on occurs, allow the play to continue. A quick whistle on a play on is not always necessary. Now, let's say you're officiating 8U. You're officiating second graders. If we have a play on with second graders, my hand's going to go up and I'm probably going to blow the whistle right after I say the end of play on. Immediately. Know the level you're officiating. We've already talked about that. Sometimes it's necessary with younger kids, but with older kids, high school, a quick whistle is not always necessary. Let the play develop for 2 seconds to see what happens. All right, the counts after a restart. The 20-second clearing out count and the 10-second clearing count. Following a play on dead ball scenario, all counts will reset. Also, following a play on loose ball scenario, all counts will reset. If we're clearing up the field, defensive team has the ball, we have a play on. When the defensive team is clearing, we will yell, reset, and click and change your timer back over. The counts will reset. A personal foul flag down does not reset our counts. Only technical fouls will reset our counts. Anytime we have a dead ball situation, will we reset the counts for a personal foul? Notice the only count that does not reset for a technical foul is the goalie count. We're not going to give the goalie an extra 4 seconds to get out of the crease. The goalie count is the only thing that does not reset following a technical foul violation. If we have a goalkeeper interference call, our 4-second count is still going to continue. We're just going to reset the time that they had to cross midfield. That's it. But he still has that 4 seconds, which is continuous. Okay, let's keep going. The over and back call. This is where you'll make your money as an official playing on the top of the box. A team shall not, after the ball has been successfully completed the transition and settled all counts, bring the ball back across midline. Big key words here. They must have settled all counts for it to be an over and back. Team has cleared up the field. They must have completed the 10-second count for it to be an over and back. Once they cross midfield, they could pass it all the way back to the goalie. I don't care. But as soon as they set foot in that box or that ball comes in contact with anything inside that box, the over and back cannot occur. A tipped pass off of the defense, a shot or deflection off any opposing team player will not classify as an over and back. An over and back can only happen off of the offense's volition. An errant pass from the offense. He loses the ball and kicks the ball over midfield. Those will not classify as an over and back. You must be in the right position to make this call, and you have to hustle. This is where you'll make your money. This is where a team is either going to have a great fast break or they're not going to have a fast break. So we're going to look at some scenarios. Now, this is a two-man scenario. Let me shrink this down real quick. This is a two-man mechanic scenario for an over and back. We have the lead down the left and the trail up on the top. The ball has squirted itself across midfield line. The black dot is the ball. Red team is closest to where that ball is. Notice where the goalies are. Red team is defending on the right. Blue team's defending on the left. Okay. In this type of scenario, actually, this should be blue. If this ball is squirted out and they're attacking this direction, going to the right, and he is unobstructed, this is a play on, don't kill it, see if he picks up the ball. Again, this is where we'll make our money. Here's another scenario for an over and back. Errant pass across midfield. Look at all of the players that have gathered around where this ball is across midfield. Play on for the over and back. We'll kill it immediately. Just kill the ball. Do the over and back signal. If there's no clear path to the goal, kill the play and award the ball. Now here's the three-man technique. So we have the bench side of the field, lead, trail, single side. In the three-man technique, the trail is going to be the one that makes this over and back call. But anytime this ball squirts up towards this midfield line, the single side official must go up. Anytime play is getting close to this midfield line, the single side needs to go up into or above the box, into our kind of our face-off area. We need to see this as a very, very important and crucial part of the game of lacrosse, the over and back call. So here is an over and back scenario.
Rule 4-14-3.
So over and back, after they've advanced the ball into the goal area, into the box, the over and back is now in effect. Now remember, the over and back can only be called on levels that actually have counts. At the 8U level and the 10U level, there are no counts. There's no 20-second count. There's no 10-second count, only the 4-second count. So this is only for middle school and high school that actually have the 20-second clear, the 10-second advance, will have this over and back rule. Let me get forward. Oh, did not mean to do that. I apologize. Let me jump forward.
If team carries, passes, or propels the...
Here we go.
Chap.
So, White has possessed the ball. Number 41 has it. He steps into the box. All counts are in effect, are done. Errant pass goes across midfield. they kill it immediately. There's too many players around. That official was in the right position. Now here's another one. White's possessing the ball. 21 has it. Shot off of the pipe. Goes across midfield. That is not an over and back scenario. A shot off the pipe is not an over and back. White's possessing the ball again. Errant pass. Looks like it got deflected. The official's in the right position. White reaches over. Remember that defensive players and the offensive players on the other side of the field are allowed to use their crosses to reach over. The biggest thing is in this scenario, there was a deflected pass that goes across. It's a deflection. If it's a deflection, they can possess the ball on this side of the field. If in the other over and back scenario where it's just an errant pass, not a deflection, not a shot, the defensive players who are on this side of the field cannot possess the ball. They are allowed to poke at the ball. They're allowed to swat at the ball, but they cannot possess the ball. They also cannot reach over and kick the ball that's across the line. It must be their cross that reaches across. Now, this also brings up a really, really interesting scenario. And this is something that's, I think, has happened to most veteran officials. Right here, we have 3 white players and 2 orange players. Let's say that this white player pushes number 22 across midfield. Let's say that 35 of white pushes number 22 in orange in the back across midfield. Well, all of a sudden, we have 2 technical fouls that have occurred. We have a push in the back on white and an offsides on 22 of orange. What is going to be the call that we'll make? If we have 2 technical fouls, 1 on each team, we have to kill the play. No matter what, 2 loose ball technical fouls, 1 on each team, we have to kill the play.
The push is what caused the offsides.
Correct.
We call the push.
Exactly. The push is what's going to be adjudicated, which means orange will get the ball because white disadvantaged orange by pushing him in the back. There's a line in play. So just like Dean was saying, any type of line violation, we need to be very, very cognizant of what's happening. Since the push happens first, the push is what's going to be adjudicated at the time. Okay, so that I don't know who said that, but that is correct. So let's let this play. No, that's fine. We'll move on. I will say there was someone that said something in the chat. Let me check that real quick before we move on to a hold call. Dean said it doesn't have to be a cross. It could just be a foot on the line. Correct. The midfield line is treated. If those players, if one of Blue's feet touches the line, he is offsides. He does not have to be all the way across the line. The only line on the field where the entire line comes into play is the goal line. In order for it to be a legal goal, the ball must completely cross the goal line. If the ball comes to rest on the goal line, it's not a goal. Every other line on the field, if someone's toe touches that line, he is across that line. On the sideline, same thing. If his toe touches the sideline, he is out of bounds. It is the same thing. Very, very good point on bringing that up, Dean. I appreciate that. Okay, the next call we're going to get into on the technical fouls is a hold. A player may not impede the movement of an opponent or his cross. He can legally exert equal pressure if both hands are on the cross, and he can legally hold the player from the front or side or with his cross within 5 yards of the ball. Now, right here, legally hold from the front or side with his cross. He can hold on the body or on the other player's cross within 5 yards, as long as it's equal pressure and both hands are on his cross. Our first example, we have white and green playing each other. White player reaches up around the player, but he uses one hand to do so. This is a hold with possession. I know it's fuzzy and I apologize. One of the most common hold scenarios that we will run into is play that's up around the head. Using the cross, let me do this real quick. Using the cross, let me grab my stick. One of the most common holds that we'll run into is a defensive player whose cross comes up into the chest and then goes up into the neck area. If it's a vicious contact up into the neck, well, we have a slash every single time. But when a player reaches around and his cross is up in the upper chest and goes up, what is the first thing that that player is going to do? He is going to slow down and lean backwards. Therefore, he is limiting his amount of movement. It is a hold. In this scenario, we have a more violent version of that. I know it's fuzzy, but the player reaches around him and the official correctly adjudicates this as a hold. Let's watch it one more time. Watch it again. I know it's far away, but I am going to pause it right here. I am so glad that we do not wear this anymore. For all the new officials that are in this meeting, we wear black shorts and we do not wear these socks. So just wanted to throw that out there. Any type of hold scenarios that we have, here's the same hold in slow motion. Green player beats white player with one hand, reaches around the player. Remember, to be a legal hold, he must have both hands on his cross. And it must be from the front or the side. He definitely did this from the back, from the rear. We're going to watch this call a couple of times. White player's playing orange player, ball's loose. So we have two different calls right here. Here's the first one. White player's using his cross. That's a loose ball hold. Here's another one. Play's going away. White player uses his cross to hook the orange player. Let's go back and you look at those one more time before we go on the next one. So this first one, we have a loose ball scenario. Ball's on the ground. White's playing the gold player. Besides the fact that this guy's using the butt end of his stick to play the ball, which is legal, let's not look at that. This white player is holding this player from playing the ball. He is not exerting equal pressure. He is keeping him from the ball with his cross. On this one, the gold player gets tangled up in the other guy's cross and he pulls him down to the ground. This is a great example of a loose ball hold. There is not exertion of equal pressure. Right here, this is not exerting equal pressure. This is a loose ball hold. Play on, kill it. Here's another scenario. That was a different penalty. That was going into an illegal screen. But let's go to the next one on a hold call. So this is a hold on a wrap check. Now, a wrap check in lacrosse is using a one-handed check to reach around the player and check him from the front when he is playing him from the rear. This is something we'll see a lot in high school. We'll get a good zoomed in version of this. Watch one more time. Where does the hold take place? White player possesses the ball. Where does the hold take place? It's kind of hard to see, but watch the black player's free hand. He grabs the white player on his shoulder and then applies the check. Watch his free hand, grab, wrap check. Good wrap check right on the stick. Great stick check, but he used his free hand to gain an advantage. Watch it again. Grabs with the free hand. That is a hold every single time. A player cannot use their free hand to gain an advantage. This is a hold. Now, I did have a newer official in the state ask me if a player uses his free hand on the field, wouldn't that be illegal touching? Illegal touching, the technical foul, illegal touching goes for touching the ball, not for touching a player. Using the free hand to gain an advantage is a hold foul. So we're at right about the halfway point right now. Does anyone have any questions before we go any further? Before we go any further, does anyone have any questions? We're a little over an hour into the training. We're a little less than halfway through, but the next half of this is going to go pretty quick. Does anyone have any questions so far on the play on technique, firstly? And then secondly, on any of the fouls that we've talked about so far? A push in the back, interference, holding, and over and back. Does anyone have any questions on those so far or have anything to add? I wanted to add in these chances for people to say something, maybe even something that's happened during the course of a game where they want to bring it up to everyone else. I'll be first and bring one up. I've allotted 5 minutes for this. One of the worst hold calls I've had as an official was a player who brought another player down to the ground. They were both playing a loose ball. The player with his stick grabbed the other player and then whipped him backwards down to the ground. He held him from the play first, so I had a flag for holding, but then he continued to check him while he was on the ground when the ball was not there. So then I have a second foul. So that's something we need to look at in a hold scenario. If the player goes down to the ground, what happens to the player when he's on the ground? Remember, he cannot be bodied when he's on the ground. That's an illegal body check. But he can be stick checked when he's on the ground if that ball is within 5 yards. Does anyone else have another scenario where they've had an over and back call, a hold call, or maybe a push? We've kind of talked about the different scenarios where guys turn their back to gain an advantage. Line violation play where we're next to a sideline or an end line or on the midfield line. We have a really close technical foul situation. Does anyone else have something to add?
Dean, why don't you talk about stick to stick holds?
So stick to stick holds. Austin Cooper told me this summer. I had a holding call where a player, and I mentioned this yesterday, where a player was running up the field. He had possession of the ball on his stick, and the defensive guy had his stick on top of the other guy's stick and just held his stick there and kept running, and eventually the guy lost the ball. Everyone was going nuts and wanted a hold call. Wrong. A stick-to-stick hold is legal as long as what occurs? It is from the front or the side, and the guy has 2 hands on his cross. It is legal to hold a player cross to cross if there's equal pressure, both hands are on the cross, and it is from the front or the side. It is legal contact. And that's something we'll see. I think I see it more in middle school than I do anything else. Players running up the field, maybe they can't cradle really well, so they run up the field like this, and they don't move their stick at all. The ball is in their stick, and they're running up the field like this. Get a defensive guy comes across, stick on stick. He's running, and eventually loses possession of that ball. That's not a hold. Well, it is a hold, but it's a legal hold. He's allowed to do so. Did you have something else to add on stick-to-stick holds, Dean?
No, I mean, the only thing to be careful of is that it doesn't slide up to the guy's wrist or arm or forearm or whatever. And
Yeah.
then it would be a hold, right?
Right. Yeah, it's stick-to-stick contact's fine. As soon as it gets up into the forearm area, up into the elbow, crotch, right here, as soon as it gets up into this area, that's something we have to look at. If it gets up into this area, he's fine as long as it's equal pressure. Remember that, equal pressure. And there's no advantage being gained from it.
Hey, Gene,
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
in terms of the free hand too, use of the free hand, you have to watch the swim move. When an offensive player uses a swim move, a lot of times you'll see he uses that free arm. He'll stick that free arm on the hip of the defender, push the defender, and swim over the top of him. That's a hold. That's a change of possession.
Right.
And
No,
you see that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. A swim move, person bringing their stick over the person, if they use their free hand to grab the guy's back and push him backwards, even though he's pushing him, he's holding him. That is a hold. I would be very, very careful on calling it a push call. An offensive player, turnover for an offensive push. There's not many scenarios where that's going to arise. I would call that a hold. You call him hold, he's using that free hand. No, that was a great point, Steve. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a great, great point. Especially when you get kids that try to do swim moves, but they really don't know how to do the swim move. They're doing it because they've seen their favorite college player doing it. They haven't really done it really, really well and learned the real technique of it, and they'll try it. It's something to always watch for. Anytime a player takes their free hand, a hand off the stick, and they're playing with one hand, always watch that free hand, see what he's doing. Looking for holds,
Hey.
or they're using their free hand, or they're using it to ward away.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
So when we're talking about, holding up in the forearms and up in the crook of the elbow, I mean, when we're doing stick checks, then we are allowed to check them up there. But your point there is that if they're keeping the kid from moving his arm by holding the stick there, then we would have a flag down.
Yeah, I'm going to separate into two different things. Yes, a player is allowed to keep their stick across the player's chest. That's fine, as long as it's equal pressure. Now, again, this is something that comes with experience, being able to see what's legal and what's illegal in those situations. And unfortunately, YouTube is not laden with different scenarios for lacrosse penalties. I've spent more time searching YouTube for film than I've spent actually creating PowerPoints, trying to find examples for everyone. Checking, though, a legal check is not allowed up in this area. A person who is checking with the cross and he checks up in this area, you might give it to him the first time. The second time, I would say something. Or the first time, say something so he doesn't do it again. Remember, a legal stick check must be on the gloved hand or the cross, a legal stick check. Now, again, I brought this up. It's level of play. The higher the level of the play, the more that you're going to let go. The lower the play, the more you're going to call. But let's not confuse checking with what we're talking about with holding. I just don't want there to be any kind of fluff. There's a large gray area in there. So a person is allowed to legally hold from the front and the side. And in that scenario where a player has his stick on the other player like this from the side, it is legal as long as it's equal pressure. It is legal. It is a legal hold. The other thing to talk about is the cross-check hold. A cross-check hold is when a player is using the portion of his cross between his hands and holding the player on their back like this. It is legal as long as the pressure is equal and not in a thrusting motion. That's a cross-check. You'll see what I always say, if you ever see a player that's motorcycle gripped running into play defense, watch that kid. But a player whose hands are like this and the stick is up and down playing defense, he's doing it correctly. Anytime you see a player playing defense like this, be an active official and tell him to get off of his back. Put his hands together. Whenever you see a defender going in to make contact like this, watch him. This is just where experience takes place. Being able to know the scenarios and see the scenarios is vitally important, and it takes years of experience to understand and completely view the play in technical foul play. It takes years of experience, and that's no knock on younger officials. It takes a long time to create the amount of experience where you feel 100% comfortable making these calls. Okay, what I think is probably the easiest technical foul to call, the ward. A player may not use his free hand or arm to direct the movement of an opponent's cross or body while possessing the ball. A player possessing the ball may not use his cross while both hands are on the cross to direct the body of the opponent. Notice before the tick mark above, a player is not allowed to use his free arm to direct the movement of a player's opponent's cross or body while possessing the ball. But the second one, it says while possessing the ball, he may not use his cross to, while both hands are on the cross, to direct the body of the opponent. We have two different scenarios of this warding call. A player may use his arm while both hands are on the cross to direct the opponent's cross, but not his body. He can only be called, this can only be called on a player possessing the ball. There is no such thing as a loose ball ward. No such thing. If you have a situation where the player is using the free hand in a loose ball scenario, it is a hold. A ward is only called on a person who is possessing the ball. This is a pretty good example of a blatant ward. White player running. He lifts his arm, free arm, to direct the cross of the other player. That is a ward. Next one. Let me mute this. This was that exception I was talking about. Black player's running down. Both hands are on his cross. He makes contact to the other player's cross. That is not a ward. Watch it again. The black player has both hands on his cross, makes initial contact with the opponent's cross, lifts his arm. That is not a ward. In order for this to be a ward, the first contact he makes would have to be to the body, but his first contact is to the person's cross. It's going to play over and over and over again. So we have two different scenarios in those two clips we watched. The first one was a player using his free hand to gain an advantage, meaning he is moving his hand away towards the opponent's body or cross. That is a ward. This is black player has two hands on his cross. Initial contact is to the opponent's cross. This is not a ward. Okay, here's another one. White player's free hand lifts red player's cross. That is a ward. Free hand lifting the cross. It is a ward. Now, one thing, I know everyone can see my hand. You'll see numerous types of wards. You'll see guys that run down the field with their thumb literally on their side, with their elbows just sticking out. That's a free hand, that's his free hand. You'll see other guys who are literally using a stiff arm technique. As long as their free hand stays motionless, it's fine. But as soon as you see him swat away with his free hand, it's got to be a ward. Now, this is another thing that kind of comes with experience. One thing that we will see a lot is we'll see an offensive player run in towards the defensive player, and at the last second, he has this one hand on his stick. At the last second, pulls away and his hand stays there. We can either view that as a ward depending on the situation, but it's all about the advantage. did the offensive player gain an advantage by using his free hand? If he gained an advantage, it is a ward. This situation, since a ward can only be called on the person possessing the ball, we will never have a flag down for a ward. Never. This will be a turnover. Hand up, tweet, turn the ball over. This is not a flag down situation. This cannot be a play on situation because this cannot occur loose. The ball must always be in possession. Okay. Now, this next one, we're going to watch this a couple of times. We're going to talk about this a little more, is the goalie interference call. Goalie interference. Biggest thing with a goalie interference call is knowing your goalie privileges. The goalie is given certain privileges over other players on the field. Number one, the goalie is given a 4-second count where he cannot be touched to leave the crease while possessing the ball, or is given 4 seconds to move the ball from the crease. The goalie cannot be checked within his own crease. Notice I said the goalie. If a defensive player is in the crease and possessing the ball, a player on the other team can check the snot out of him. It is fine. Only the goalie is given that privilege, not any defender within the crease. Only the goalie is given that privilege. So if you have the goalie inside the crease, loose ball, and there's a defensive guy inside the crease, and a guy outside the crease checks the other defender, it's legal. He just can't make contact to the goalie when he's in the crease. The goalie must be given a clear pass when moving the ball from the crease. His passing motion must be a free motion. If that motion is interrupted, we have a play on goalie interference. The goalie is allowed to bat the ball with his hand. He is the only player on the field that is allowed to play the ball with his hand. He is not allowed to grab the ball, though. Not allowed. But he's allowed to swat the ball. He's allowed to bat the ball. He's allowed to stop the ball from going into the goal with his hand, but he cannot catch it. If he catches the ball or grabs the ball with his hand, that's illegal touching. Now, any other person on the field besides a goalie touches the ball with their hand is illegal touching. But the goalie is allowed to bat the ball, swat the ball, stop the ball from going in the goal. He can swat the ball out of the crease. He can do all of that perfectly fine. The next one is the goalie shall possess the ball after the ball is stuck in his equipment. He is the only person that is given this privilege. You'll run into it every once in a while where the ball will go underneath the goalie's jersey and underneath in between his pads and his chest. The goalie can possess the ball, or the defense can possess the ball after this occurs. If it happens,
Gene?
yes, yeah.
So again, to clarify, you're talking about the goalie to bat the ball. This is all within the crease.
Correct. The ball must also be
Not
in the
outside the crease. Not outside the crease.
Correct. If the ball is outside the crease, the goalie cannot touch it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you emphasize that because for the first time I had that last year.
Yeah. If
The goalie was outside, he picked it up with his hand. I was like, I haven't seen that.
No,
Wait a
no,
minute.
if the ball is within the crease, he is allowed to bat it with his hand. He can never grab it. But if the ball is outside the crease and he is in the crease, he can't touch it with his hand. The ball must be within the crease.
I want to clarify, make sure.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you for doing that. If any other player on the field gets the ball stuck in their equipment, we award that via alternate possession. If the goalie gets it stuck in his equipment, the goalie is going to get it. The defense is going to get that ball. Only the goalie will be given these privileges. A defender possessing the ball in the crease can be checked, but is still given the 4-second count. Okay. Next part, the goalie may not be given the same privileges when he is playing the ball outside the crease. Once the goalie leaves the crease area, he is a field player, which means he can be checked and he is held to the same standard as every other player once he leaves the crease. The goalie can check a player outside the crease while trying to clear. He can be called for this. I had this at this summer. Goalie was clearing the ball. He flat out just didn't care where that ball went. He slashed the kid right in the face. I threw a flag and called the goalie for a slash. And the goalie also may not abuse his privileges while inside the crease. I had this fall. A goalie who was not very good. The coach told him, he said, wait for the offensive player to come in front of the crease and just pretend to pass the ball and make contact with the guy in front of the crease. He did it 4 times. The 5th time, I didn't give it to him. He cannot abuse his privileges for a free clear. He is not allowed to do so. He needs to direct the ball. He needs to make a clear pass. You can give it to him a couple of times, but he cannot abuse the rule. That's not the point of this. He's abusing his advantage. Here's what is not goalie interference. A loose ball in the crease and the goalie checks an opponent's cross reaching into the crease to possess the ball. So let's imagine this. Ball's loose in the crease. An offensive guy is going in to the crease to grab the ball and the goalie hits his stick. That is not goalie interference. It's only goalie interference if the guy outside the crease checks the goalie stick. It's not the other way around. If the goalie plays a loose ball outside the crease and his stick is checked, if the goalie is going to play a loose ball outside the crease, he is allowed to be stick checked 100% of the time. If he is going to play a loose ball outside the crease, he is allowed to be stick checked. And the last one, a player after shooting the ball and scoring makes contact with the goalie's cross or the goal pipe. If a player is shooting and scoring, if he shoots, makes contact with the goalie, not a goal. If the ball goes into the goal and then he makes contact, this is where the officials need to get together and talk about it for a second. For high school, we're not really going to run into this a whole lot. College, we run into it all the time. But it's something to always think about. Scott, did you have something else to add? I thought I heard someone say something. Okay.
Nope.
What would end a goalkeeper interference? This is a question I want to have for everyone. What would end a goalkeeper interference? Here is this situation. Goalie's reaching outside the crease to play the ball. Loose ball. He's trapped the ball under his cross, which he's allowed to do. The field players are allowed to check his cross. This player is kicking his cross. What would you call? I would say play on. I'd probably go illegal procedure on this one. You could probably even say goalkeeper interference. I think that would still be okay. What would end a goalkeeper interference? Remember the definition and the rule of a technical foul. Advantage, disadvantage. If the advantage has ended, that's when the goalkeeper interference is over. But if the advantage is still continuing, the play on is still in play. Okay, here's a scripted example of a goalkeeper interference.
Go.
So, goalie is possessing the ball. He is within the crease. His stick is outside the crease. As soon as he possesses the ball, he cannot be stick checked. If he's playing a loose ball, he can be stick checked. This is a play on for goalkeeper interference. Play on. And that play on will continue until the advantage is over with. Here's what will end the advantage. Number one, and this is a big one, huge, huge, huge. If we have a goalkeeper interference, the goalie's in the crease, As soon as that goalkeeper leaves his crease, the play on's over. If he walks out of his crease, the play on is over with. If he passes the ball to one of his other defenders, the play on is over. Those are our two scenarios. He goes out of the crease, or he passes the ball to another defender outside the crease and he possesses the ball.
Question, G.
Go ahead.
So in this scripted scenario right here, if the goalie's right toe touches the edge of the white line, it's not goalie interference because he is out of the crease, correct?
No. And I'm glad you brought this up. I was going to bring that up in the next clip. As long as any part of the goalie is in contact with the crease, he is still in the crease. So a goalie can have his toe in the crease and the rest of his body outside the crease. He is still considered to be in the crease. He can be stick checked if he's playing a loose ball, but he cannot be body checked. As long as any part of his body is touching the crease, that includes the actual crease line or anywhere inside of it, he is in the crease.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. This next clip will be able to see a better example. So this is looking at what Tom's talking about. Look where this goalie is. Half of his body's in the crease, half of his body's out of the crease. Technically, this goalie is still in the crease, but he's playing the ball outside the crease. He can still be stick checked, but he cannot be body checked. Number one, because he's on the ground, but he's technically still in the crease.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about the goalie is the ball trapped and he's in the process of breaking it to pop it up and to maintain possession?
If the goalie is trapping the ball underneath his cross, he can still be stick checked. If he's in the process of raking the ball, the biggest thing is he does not possess it. As long as he is trying to play a loose ball that is outside the crease, he can still be stick checked. As soon as that ball goes into the crease, that is over. He cannot be stick checked any longer. If the ball is loose inside the crease, no one is allowed to touch him on the opposing team. No one. Does that answer that question? Biggest thing is possession. If he does not possess the ball, doesn't matter if he's in the process of raking the ball. If the ball is outside the crease, he can still be stick checked. There is no goalkeeper interference on that.
Real quick on the raking part, you got to give, I think, the goalie a little bit of leeway, not too much, that potentially withholding it if he's holding it down there too long.
Right, and that's a good thing, Vincent, is the goalie will often clamp the ball outside the crease and then rake it back into his crease. The goalie is allowed to do that. He's the only player on the field that's allowed to do that, is deliberately withhold the ball in the back of his cross to pull it back in the crease. He is allowed to do that. But if the goalie is clamped on top of the ball and does not direct the ball within a timely manner, just like Vincent said, we could have him for withholding in this scenario. So we can give him leeway, but only within the dynamic of the rule. He cannot keep the ball from play. If he's raking the ball in the back of his cross back into his crease, he is directing the ball. If he is keeping the ball underneath his cross but not directing it, we can have a withholding situation. And we'll get to a withholding technical foul here in a little bit. So the goalie is outside he's playing the loose ball. He's being stick checked like crazy and then rakes it back into his cross. What the official calls for him for right here, they called a play on because a white player kicked his stick. Let's watch this one more time. These crease plays are hard. He still does not have possession of the ball, still doesn't possess it. They're calling, I actually found this clip and found the full game to figure out what they were calling, and they called a kicking of the cross. No player is allowed to kick the cross. You're not allowed to do so. Not even your own cross. You can't kick your own stick. Okay, now this is another big dynamic. I want you to look where we are on the field. This is the blue goalkeeper. This is the white goalkeeper. The white goalkeeper has cleared the ball up the field, and a technical foul has occurred. This technical foul has occurred because the goalie has left his crease area. Anytime there is a stoppage of play for a technical foul violation, a personal foul violation, or any kind of dead ball goes out of bounds, shot, anything, you must always give the goalie 5 seconds to return to his goal. That is another goalie thing. The goalie is allowed to have 5 seconds to return to his goal. In this clip, the goalie is now going to lose possession of the ball. You can see him start heading back in the other direction. But the official down here does not give the goalie enough time to return to his goal. And the official that you'll see up here standing on midfield stops the play, lets the goalie go back to his goal, and then they restart the play right here. So this is mediocre officiating on this official, wonderful officiating on this other official. And it's something we have to remember. All of a sudden, this referee blows it dead. He's like, nope, not happening. Bring the ball back. The goalie has to be able to return to his goal, and he has 5 seconds to do so. So the blue player returns to the other side of the field to restart play. Great officiating. Something has occurred, probably an offsides. Goalie dropped the ball. 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds is not enough time. You have to give the goalie 5 seconds to return to his goal on any dead ball situation. You can see how this official is like, nope, kills the play. He returns to that side of the field where the ball was blown dead, and they're going to restart it. It is the rule. It's one of those things. Okay, illegal screen. A player setting a screen must remain motionless during a pick. His feet must be no more than shoulder width apart, and all parts of his body and cross must be within the frame of his body. In order to be an illegal screen, there must be contact. A player who swerves around a player, by the way, this is a question on the rules examination dealing with this. If a person sets a pick and the defensive player runs around him, like disadvantages the player and runs around him, that's not an illegal screen. He set a legal screen and forced the player to go around him. He must be moving to be an illegal screen, and he must remain motionless. So we're going to look at some examples of an illegal screen. Black player goes to set the pick. His stick is not within the frame of his body, and he moves over to make contact. This is an illegal screen. Pretty blatant too. You can see the defender sees him and goes around him, but he still moves to make contact. An illegal screen has occurred. Here's another one. So player in black. You see how he leaned into him? He set his feet, but he did not remain motionless. He leaned into him. That is an illegal pick. This is not like basketball where they're halfway moving 100% of the time. He needs to remain motionless during the entire pick. Okay. The other thing about a illegal pick or an illegal screen, which is this motion, that's the signal for it, is always watch to see the defender. What does the defender do? If the defender makes incidental contact with the person setting the screen and knocks him over, that's not a penalty. Look at it like this. A great pick is one where the defender doesn't see it coming. But if the defender sees the pick coming and still makes forceful contact with the screen, now we have a personal foul for unnecessary roughness. So we have an offensive player setting a screen. Defensive player sees the screen coming, still makes forceful contact. We'll probably have a personal foul now. We have a personal foul situation. So there's multiple things we got to look at. Number one, the offensive guy setting the pick. Secondly, is the defensive guy making forceful contact with the screen. Withholding the ball. A player may not lie on the ball, means he cannot directly lay on top of the ball or hover over the ball, keeping the ball from play. He cannot trap the ball with his cross longer than is necessary to direct or possess it, something we talked about with the goalie, raking the ball into his cross, and cannot withhold the ball in any manner. The only people on the field who are allowed to have the ball in the back of their cross are face-off players on a face-off and a goalie trapping the ball and bringing the ball into the crease. No other player is allowed to possess the ball in the back of their cross. A player is allowed to keep their cross on top of the ball, but only long enough to direct it in a direction. Now, one of the biggest things that you will have for withholding is with the yard sale, where a person stick checks another player and their stick comes flying out of their hand. If the ball stays within the cross, it is withholding. So blue player is playing white player. Ball stays in the cross. When he does not possess it, that is withholding the ball. Here's another one. Stick check. That was not withholding because the ball directly came out. So look for the stick to come out of the player's hand and the ball stays in it. That is not withholding. We're going to watch a couple of these. Anytime the stick is dislodged from the player and the ball remains in the cross, it is withholding. These are just yard sale highlights. But this is where you're going to get withholding the most, is when the player does not have possession of their cross and the ball stays within the cross. Let me go forward a little bit. Ball stays in the cross, withholding. Now, here's the other thing. It doesn't matter if the stick is like this or like this on the ground. It is still withholding if the ball is within the cross. If the stick comes to rest on the field like this and the ball is within it, withholding. It's play on, blow the whistle, withholding. One thing that you'll also see is a lot of defenders, when the ball stays in the cross, is the defender will come and pick up the cross with his stick and throw the cross. Do not give the defender that opportunity. This is a very, very quick play on situation. Anytime you have withholding where the ball stays in the cross and the player does not have possession of his cross and the ball is in it, play on, blow your whistle immediately. Do not let the play continue. Just blow it dead. Just kill it. Remember, if the ball is trapped under the cross, it's an immediate whistle. This is not a play on situation where we let it go for 1 or 2 seconds. Kill it immediately. Okay, the kitchen sink of all lacrosse penalties, the illegal procedure. I don't want to, but I'm going to. Every single one of these classify as an illegal procedure. Playing without the cross, entering the game before penalty time has expired, participation from out of bounds, leaving the restraining area before a face-off is ended, having more than 10 players on the field, crease violations, no working horn, more than 4 long crosses, no mouthpiece, exchanging a cross while possessing the ball, not leaving the field to exchange a cross, kicking an opponent's cross, flicking the cross in an opponent's face, delaying the start of a game, Calling a timeout with none remaining, failure to advance the ball within 20, 10, or 4 seconds, failure to have a clearly marked field, deceiving to gain an advantage through a penalty. This is not soccer. Playing without the cross. This includes a broken cross, but this does not pertain to a goalie. If a goalie's cross is broken, you kill the play immediately because he's not an equipped goalie. Failure to enter the field following a timeout or penalty, and throwing the cross not at the ball. I'm talking about like in a celebration. This is an illegal procedure. Okay, throwing the ball at a player, throwing the cross at the ball, player, or game personnel is an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. All of these are illegal procedure calls. This is the kitchen sink call. If you're a new official, you know there's been a violation that has occurred. If you think it's withholding, if you give illegal procedure, no one's going to argue. This is a blatant example of kicking the cross. I have never seen this happen, and every official is probably going to laugh at this. This is on a face-off. Watch the blue player who comes in. I'm going to step on this guy's cross. I'm going to step on it again. It's comical, but kicking the cross is an illegal procedure. You cannot kick your opponent's cross or your own. They're both illegal procedures. Here's another one. This is playing without the cross. So what we didn't see was, I had to look up this game. This white player lost his cross and got in the way of red player trying to play the ball. This is illegal procedure, playing without the cross. Now this is about the dive, which we don't have the dive in high school rules. This is an illegal procedure. A crease violation. You can see this official runs in and goes, no, he touched the crease right here. Crease violation. That is an illegal procedure. Kitchen sink of calls. All right, failure to advance. Once a 10 or 20-second count has begun, it continues until the ball crosses the midline or the attack box. The 20-second count will start on the defensive end of the field when a team is clearing. Once it crosses midfield, the 20-second count has ended. The 10-second count then begins once the ball crosses midfield and is possessed. Once it touches the attack box or anything within the attack box, the 10-second count is over. A failure to advance call is an immediate whistle and change of possession. In the two-man mechanic, means two officials on the field, the lead will always take the 10-second count, and the trail will have the 20-second count and the 4-second count. In the three-man mechanic, the single side will always have the 10-second and 20-second counts, and the trail will have the 4-second goalie count. Now, it was very hard and very difficult for me to find a clip of a failure to advance without me going and watching full games. What you have right here is a player who is keeping the clearing team from touching it inside the box and causing a failure to advance. So ball crosses midfield, 10-second count begins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're keeping him from touching inside the box. They're keeping him outside the box. Failure to advance.
Good job, Sean.
That is a very good example of a failure to advance call. Now, the other thing in this one is you will see that the player, once he crosses midfield and the 10-second count begins, he goes back across midfield. That is not an over and back. Remember, in order to be an over and back call, all counts must be satisfied. This player who possesses the ball went across midfield, 10-second count starts, he went back across midfield, the 10-second count still continues.
I'm going to go try and rise to the top at G8, you said?
Let's make sure our mics are muted, fellas. Goes back across midfield. That's not an over and back. They're keeping him from getting inside the box. You can see here the coach going, touch it in, touch it in, touch it in. They don't touch it in. It's a failure to advance.
Hey, Gene,
Yes, sir.
one thing seemed like I noticed that wing official coming down who was doing the 10 count.
Mhm.
Hold on a second.
Damn, that looks fucking intense.
When I'm doing my 10 count, I put my arm up high so the coaches can see that I'm doing the 10 count instead of like down low so they can't see it. To me, that just shows them they can clearly see we got the count going.
I agree. I do my 10-second count the exact same thing. I always motion my 10-second count above my shoulder.
Yeah.
Do not get in the habit of when you're counting the 10-second count down. Don't count it down. Either count it directly at shoulder level or up a little higher. Okay? Remember, the 10-second count is the only one that's a visual count. The 10-second and the 4-second count are visual counts. The 20-second count, we're going to use a timer for.
Right.
We're going to use a timer for the 10-second count. Okay, I got to get through these next few slides pretty quickly. I'm running out of time. Okay, offsides. A team is not considered offsides if they have too few players on either end of the field, because there's no advantage. You'll hear people calling offsides because there's two defenders on that side of the field. That's not an offsides call. Remember, with offsides, when we're counting for offsides, we always count forwards. Never turn around and look at the defensive half of the field to count that side as well. Always count forwards. Things to look for offsides. Is there a fast break opportunity? Big times in offsides, if there's a fast break opportunity and it's a real quick offsides, maybe let that go. Another thing, where did the offsides occur? Hey, make sure our mics are muted, fellas. Make sure your mic is muted. If the offsides occurred on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah, remember last time, like 2 days ago, she gonna kill.
Oh my gosh. If the offsides occurs on the opposite side of the field where the ball is,
like eventually,
did it affect the play? Oh my God. Let me see. I'm just going to mute everyone. Mute all. If you have something to say, you're going to have to unmute yourself. But for right now, everyone's muted. And how blatant was the offside infraction? If it's just a toe, maybe don't call it. But if he completely steps offsides, call it. Things to remember. A player is offsides, not the team. If one player goes offsides, goes back across midfield, the coach says, just go, just go, just go, because you're offsides already, and another player goes, there's two people offsides now. Offsides is a player foul, not a team foul. Okay? An example of offsides. If play is unobstructed and a fast break opportunity has occurred, let it go. That's the biggest thing with this. If play is obstructed and an offsides has occurred, throw the flag and maybe look at killing it. The biggest thing is advantage, disadvantage. Okay, we're just gonna look at one of these because it's a pretty blatant example of offsides. Did you see that? This is a loose ball offsides. Blue player runs up to stop the ball, steps over. Easy enough. No, I'm sorry, black player runs up to stop the ball. Boom, he's offsides. Loose ball offsides, play on, offsides, throw the ball the other direction. Let's watch one more. Black player running up. White player, did you see him step over? Boom, 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 boom. Now, this is a difficult one because there's a giant picture in the middle of the field. Can you call an offsides? Yes. This is the white team's home field. They should know where the offsides is. But yes, he does step offsides. White player is going to play black player. Ball's possessed. Therefore, the technical foul is a flag down. If the ball's loose, just a play on. Let's see what happens. Let's see who gets the ball. Okay, I'm going to skip the rest of these. Illegal use of hands. No player shall touch the ball with their hands. Only the goalie may touch the ball with his hands by batting, but cannot catch the ball or grab the ball. He's only allowed to do this, like what Scott was talking about. He is only allowed to touch the ball within his crease. If the ball is outside the crease, he is not allowed to. If the ball becomes lodged in the goalie equipment, kill the play. Do not give him the opportunity to reach into his equipment and grab the ball. Just kill it immediately. Last thing we want to do is have someone say, well, he grabbed it with his hand. He can't do that. Well, it was stuck in his equipment first. Delay of game. Failure to be ready for play within 20 seconds following a dead ball is a delay of game penalty. Failure to ready the ball for play upon a stoppage is also a delay of game. This is what I'm talking about. This happens a lot with middle school. Shot goes out of bounds. Defensive guy does not want to pick up the ball. So he calls one of his middies down to the opposite end of the field, has to run 40 yards to pick up the ball because the defender can't. You give him 5 seconds to pick up that ball. If he does not pick up that ball within 5 seconds to start play, it's a delay of game. Avoidable lateness when entering the field. This is also off of a shot or out of bounds. The guy picks up the ball and is waiting for substitutes to happen. Give him 5 seconds. If he doesn't get into the field, it's a delay of game. And for failure to yield 5 yards on a free restart. This is for defensive players playing offensive players. On a restart may occur with the defense within 5 yards. The defensive player must give the offensive player a direct path to the goal. He may not defend the player until 5 yards is established. Here's the big one. An offensive player cannot make contact with a defensive player to gain an advantage. If we blow the ball live and the defensive player is within 5 yards, if that offensive player runs towards the defensive player, there's no delay of game. Offensive guy is an idiot and shouldn't have done it in the first place. Okay, here we go. Here's a great example of the defense not yielding 5 yards on a restart. So red has possession of the ball. He's getting driven, falls over. He forces the ball to go out of bounds. Red picks up the ball. Watch where the white guys are. Watch where the white players are. Referee tells them to back off. No, they turn right around. They do not give 5 yards. That is a flag down delay of game. It doesn't even matter if they make contact. If they do not create that 5 yard buffer, it is a delay of game penalty. Here's another one. Okay, so on that restart that we just saw, so there's a restart that's going to occur. The green player is going to pick it up. Blue player is within 5 yards, checks him. That is a delay of game penalty. Easy enough. Okay, come on. There we go. All right, got 3 more slides and then we're done. Conduct. Okay, the conduct foul, which is just putting your arm out to the side, it's basically the half bird. That's the way that I have always liked to look at it. It's the half bird. So unsportsmanlike conduct is both hands out. Conduct is one hand out. Conduct, we need to use this as to send a message. In a loose ball scenario, a conduct, you just award possession to the other team. When the ball is possessed, though, we're going to take it away or give a 30-second penalty, depending on what team did it. Taunting, maligning an official, not at the level of unsportsmanlike conduct, and cursing is a conduct penalty. What you'll see a lot is, let's say a player gets hit and the player stands over him. Conduct him. First time, every time. We give him the conduct for the first time. The second time he does it, we give him the unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, when it comes to cursing, I have a big pet peeve on this one. Here's the way that I like to look at it. I'm a realist. If we're officiating high school, we know these high school kids know more curse words than we do. It's the way it is. If a player is cursing, but he's talking to his own team, the opposing coach can't hear it and mommy and daddy can't hear it, maybe just tell him to stop. Don't conduct him. If a player curses at a person on the other team, now we have a problem. So always look at the entire scenario, the entire situation. Stalling. Stalling is a judgment call. A team in possession of the ball must put the ball at risk. If a team does not put the ball at risk, it is not stalling. If the team does put the ball at risk, it is not stalling, meaning they are going towards the goal. They are actively trying to score. If a team is not actively trying to score, they're stalling. Now, here's the biggest thing is how do we communicate a stall? My way of doing it is like this. I'm going to look at my partner. Let's say I am with Vincent. Vincent knows I do this. If we're both on the field and I think we're stalling, I'm going to say, hey, Vincent, what do you think? And that's all I'm going to say. Vincent knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's going to like, hey, one more time around. And then we're going to put a stall on. If we want to do it silently, one of the easiest ways to do it, grab your watch. Put your hand over your watch. Wait for the other official to see it. That's when we'll put on a stall. Now, here's the other thing. We never want to put on a stall if there's a good chance that they might step out of the box within like a half a second. I like to put on a stall when the ball is behind the goal or the ball is well on top of the box or in the alley. We never want to put on a stall when he's already in the box. Because when we put on a stall, get it in, we give them 10 seconds to get it into the box. That's when we're going to keep that stall in. So just be well aware. The get it in, keep it in is for teams that are up by 4 or less goals in the last 2 minutes of the game. That is a get it in, keep it in. Now on a stall, who can tell me, you can unmute yourself, when does a stall end? Give me the scenarios that a stall will end. We don't all have to speak at once. It's okay.
A goal is scored.
Goal scored. That will end a stall. What else?
Shot,
Yeah, shot.
A shot that does what?
pipe, or goalie.
Hits the pipe or goalie. A shot that misses? Nope. Stall is still on. What else?
Turnover.
Turnover? Or any dead ball situation?
Somebody say out of bounds.
Out of bounds, dead ball situations.
Okay.
Those will end our stall. That will end the stall, okay? If there's a dead ball scenario, let's give them an opportunity to create some type of offense. When to call a stall? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Is the team attacking the goal? Is the defense playing the offense? If the defense isn't playing the offense, they're not stalling. The defense is playing the zone in a terrible way. Where is the ball? What is the score? How much time is left in the game? How do we start the stall and where do we start it? We need to answer all of these questions before we start the game. And just like I was saying with Vincent, when I'm saying, Vincent, what do you think? And he goes one more time around, I'm probably going to say, hey, you started on your side of the field in the alley. I'm going to tell him what we're going to do. Or I'm going to say, I'm going to start it on my side, so we can both do it at the exact same time. We're both communicating. We know exactly what's going on. All right. And that is it. That is a huge, huge example of technical fouls and the play on technique. Big thing about the play on technique. It takes a while to get good at it. New officials, you will get a play on wrong and it's perfectly fine. It is okay to get one of these scenarios incorrect. For new officials, I would rather you concentrate on personal fouls rather than technical fouls. Personal fouls are the money-making penalties where injuries can occur. If you know your personal fouls, you're good to go. Technical fouls will come with time. Now, does anyone have any questions? I know I've gone over. You don't have to stay in the call if you don't want to, but I'll stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes if people want to talk, look at film again. Remember, I'm keeping track of everyone that is in our trainings, and I'm going to give all of this to the assigners so they all know what's going on. I appreciate everyone that came and participated in today's training. If you have anything you want to see in a training, email me and let me know. Hey, let's cover this in a training. Let's mention this. Absolutely. Let me know what you think. If you think something needs to be brought up. Now, we do have 3 more trainings on Sundays coming up. The next 3 Sundays are also going to be trainings that are going to take place. I think our next one is over the face-offs, and it's only face-off mechanic the entire time. The one after that is mechanics, 3-man mechanics. The one after that is nothing but crease play. So we have a couple more trainings that are going to take place. So if you have something you want to see added to any of the trainings that I'm doing, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Or if you have any feedback, I would love to hear from you. But other than that, that is the end of our training course. If you want to stay on and ask some questions, talk about scenarios, I would love to talk with you. But I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy the Sunday. Hopefully it's good weather where you are. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Gene. Take care.
You as well.
All right, see you. I'm out.
Hey, oh, he just left. Josh, you got any questions? Reed or Tom or Mr. Powell?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay, when the stick comes out of the player's hand, it goes on the ground with the ball on it. And you said to call a play on, but you're going to kill it anyway. Why would you even call a play on in that situation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the rule specifically states because it's a technical foul and the ball is technically loose, it's not possessed anymore, it's a play on situation, even though you're just going to go play on tweet. I'm not going to say anything if you just go tweet, 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 withholding. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going based off of what the mechanic states. Since the ball is no longer possessed, it's a play on because, and from my perspective, even though he gets the stick checked out of his hand, ball is still in the stick while it's twiddling in the air. It could hit the ground and pop out. So that's a play on situation. We know who the ball is going to go to. It's going to go to the other team. So we don't want to kill that advantage. So for me, it all depends if I'm going to say play on until the stick hits the ground, and then I'm going to kill it if the ball stays in. But if that ball squirts out, then I'm going to keep that play on going to see if the other team gains in it, see if they can pick up the ball so their advantage continues. Does that make sense?
That does.
For sure.
One other thing. Doing a restart at the in front of the goal, you mentioned you prefer to go left or right. And I feel the same way.
Sure, lateral.
But I have been told that it is correct to start it in front of the goal.
You mean like the defense starting the ball?
Yeah, outside the box.
Oh, so the offense restarting the ball outside the box. Yeah, no, yeah. It is correct. You can start it laterally outside of the box anywhere you want the ball to go. So let's say we have a loose ball push in the crease. If I have that opportunity, I'm just going to pull it out the side instead of sending it up top. My biggest thing is you can start it wherever you want to start it. You can start it directly on top of the box if you want to. My thing is I think that creates an unfair advantage for the offense of restarting the ball right there. Because let's say we have 1 second left in the game and we restart the ball right on top of the box and give that guy a straight shot right at the goal. That, to me, that's an unfair advantage. I'm just going to push him out a little bit to the right or the left instead of him starting dead center. And I'm saying like 5 yards.
I've always done that myself, but I've been told that, you can restart it there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't. There's nothing that says it's illegal to restart the ball right at the midfield on top of the box. There's nothing that says that. The only reason I said it is because I believe it, just like you, it creates that unfair advantage for the restart for the offensive team. And it's more of it's the same thing on technical fouls. They're judgment calls. So within that judgment call, we both adjudicated as it's unfair. We're going to push it out a little bit. Just get it off to the side, maybe 5 yards, and then we're okay. No, I completely agree with you. U.S. lacrosse does not deem it illegal to do so. But like you, we both see it the same way. It's an unfair advantage to restart right in the middle. And plus, when I hear laterally outside the box, I think to the side rather than towards the top of the box. When I hear the word laterally, start in the alley. Most of the time, if I ever start it on top of the box, I'm starting above the alley rather than on top of the box, or starting at the face-off X and then coming down from there, or on the wing lines. Like, there's very few chances where I'm going to do that half circle right at the very top of the box, where I'm going to restart the ball right inside of that circle. I'm going to push it out a little bit, diagonally push it out to the side, push it out, or straight up top, given like 10 yards between the top of the box and where the player is. I completely understand, and I appreciate the comment. That you're correct. There's nothing that U.S. lacrosse states that we can't do so. I think it's just more of a judgment and an advantage disadvantage in that situation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, brother. Hey, you take it easy, all right?
Will do.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.